Dennis Wrigley Ministries, a better way, unity, renewal and healing.
In the last 100 years, we've seen a lot of broken walls. I went to Hiroshima and I saw the remnant of the devastation. I went to Dresden in Germany and saw ruins and broken walls. Visionaries always see beyond the broken walls to the rebuilding. Those who saw the broken walls of Coventry Cathedral had a vision of a new cathedral. And over again, it's the visionaries who see beyond the immediate disaster. But the first thing they've got to do is to admit the reality of the disaster. There's no good turning away. And the best lesson I can learn, I believe, is to go right back into the Old Testament and to read about a man called Nehemiah. Now, I'm not going to make this into a Bible study. I just would ask you to put yourself in a position of a man away from his people who learnt that the city which he loved so much, that the walls had all been burnt and broken down. And this man, Nehemiah, had a love for Jerusalem, just as many people have love for their cities. And what did he do when he got this remarkable message that indeed the people who knew exile had gone back and just felt so cast down because the walls were in ruins, a sign of defeat and failure, a sign of the enemy having won, if you like. So, I look at my Bible and I read that this man, Nehemiah, who had been told the bad news, did something quite natural. He sat down, he listened, and he wept. And I believe he wept and wept and wept. But then we read this man mourned, fasted, and prayed. And he prayed for days. It wasn't just a passing emotion. It wasn't just a few tears wept and wiped away. Oh no. And as he prayed, and remember, praying includes listening, he undoubtedly heard God speak. How can I say that? Because God opened a door, and God gave him a vision of rebuilding the walls. Crazy, everyone would have said. Madness, undoubtedly, his friends told him. But he was given this vision. And he went and he looked at the walls. Long journey. And he examined them, we're told, at night. And he saw the immensity of the job. And his first reaction was, "Come, let us rebuild." What a vision. Now they mocked him, particularly a small group of men who were cynics, and there are always such people around. And all that happened was he made a statement. The God of heaven will give us success. The vision was there. The impossible would be done. And so this man of God set about organizing. He posted guards around. He had some people with swords in their hands and building equipment on the other. And he made sure that the gates were secured. And he made sure that step by step the great walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt. I went to see those walls. They're still there for any visitor to see. Real walls, real rebuilding, a real God. And so Nehemiah was used. This is short-circuiting a very long and exciting story, the way in which he got the materials there, the way in which he was given introductions to people in authority. It's all written down. Read it in the book of Nehemiah. You'll find it exciting. But the big thing is that we read these words. The work was completed. The work was completed, to the astonishment of everyone. And what did they conclude? We read it in the book of Nehemiah. They realized that this work had been done with the help of God. Now, that's a nice story, but we're not dealing with stories. We're talking about rebuilding Hiroshima, rebuilding Dresden, rebuilding Coventry. More than that, rebuilding the broken walls of our lives. The broken walls where families have fallen apart. The broken walls where morality has collapsed and lives have been destroyed with drugs and with drink and crime and violence and all manner of wickedness. There are real broken walls in each country, if we're honest. And if we have the honesty of Nehemiah, we'll look at those broken walls. We'll get the evidence, the facts, and we will present them to God. And he will mobilize his people. And he will transform broken lives. He will transform broken families. He will transform broken communities. He will transform broken nations. The walls will be rebuilt. Not just walls of defense, but walls which provide security. How many of us are honest enough to say we feel insecure? Insecure against all manner of things. And yet, over and over again, the biblical references to rebuilding involve God being a strong tower. A mighty fortress is our God. And I believe today it's worth looking back at Nehemiah. And we may find that we've also got to look at St. Francis, who went into a ruined church and was led to rebuild, not just bricks and mortar, but lives. That is our calling. Do you see broken walls? Or are you blind to what is happening in our civilization? It doesn't need much intelligence or education to recognize that things have gone wrong, mightily wrong. And if we have a passion in our hearts like Nehemiah, who stood alone, we will move forward. We will take a look at what's happening. We will examine Jerusalem, if you like, or make it Manchester or Birmingham or any other city on earth. And we will see the transforming power of God. The walls can be rebuilt. The broken walls of our churches and our families can be rebuilt. And by God's grace, they will be rebuilt. Are you prepared to be part of this rebuilding? Or are you going to be with the crowd who said, shrugging their shoulders, impossible, stupid, an act of folly? That's the question I believe God is putting not only to his people, but our civilization, our creaking, groaning civilization today. Exciting vision. Out of the ruins will come the city of our God. May God give us that vision, that hope, that faith. And let's start rebuilding now.
Dennis Wrigley Ministries, a better way. Unity, renewal, and healing.
Thank you for watching.